Imagine, for a second, stepping away from textbooks, from lectures, and just walking into a living, breathing game world. You log in, you're an avatar, and the entire curriculum is a series of quests. And the only way to succeed is to, actively build, explore, and collaborate with other people. This is a vision for education where learning isn't some passive thing you have to endure. It's the central, high-stakes main quest you actually want to pursue.
That's the core idea behind XR School right there. We're talking about moving beyond just, simple gamification.
Right, slapping points on a quiz.
Exactly. This isn't about applying that to dusty old content. This is a complete structural overhaul. The whole act of being educated becomes synonymous with the act of perpetual world-making. The universe itself is designed to reward curiosity, creativity, and maybe most importantly, generosity toward your peers.
Okay, let's unpack that framework, because if we strip away the traditional classroom structure, the fixed syllabus, the grading, the physical building, the immediate question is, who is the student now? What are they even supposed to be doing?
And what's so fascinating here is the immediate cognitive shift. You are not signing up as a passive student who just consumes knowledge. You immediately enter the system as an emerging creator. So for this deep dive, we need to explore the specific architecture that makes every single lesson a playable, dynamic quest. That's what alters the learner's relationship with the content. You go from consumer to producer. That's the absolute core difference.
So let's jump right into that new identity then, the creator in training. If I log in for the very first time, what's my overarching mission? What am I trying to do?
Well, the mission is really twofold. It's personal mastery and it's collective contribution. You're there to build functional, beautiful worlds, to acquire these, cutting-edge skills like spatial computing and 3D modeling.
Sure.
But you're also there to help your peers master those same abilities. And ultimately, the end goal is to shape the future content of the entire XR learning universe itself.
That sounds like a massive undertaking. I mean, we're used to academic progression being measured by exams, by GPA. How does a massive multiplayer world quantify and manage all that complexity?
It's all managed through a perpetual reward loop. In this environment, everything is tracked. Every useful action you take earns experience points, or XP. Every functional shared creation you produce automatically becomes a permanent part of the shared universe. So the creation is the lesson, and the lesson is the quest.
But with no professor at the front of the room who guides that learning curve, if I am struggling with, say, complex shading, how is that specific personalized guidance delivered? It seems inefficient for one instructor to cater to dozens of unique skill levels.
And that's where the specialized distributed support system comes in, the 4 core NPCs. This team basically replaces that single, often overloaded human teacher with hyper-focused digital assistants, and it's tailored to very specific stages of the learning process.
Okay, let's break down that digital support team. What roles are these AIs and NPCs actually filling?
So first, you have the guide AI. Think of this as your personalized learning companion. Its main role is to adapt tutorial paths dynamically based on your current skill level. It's all about personalized pacing.
So if I'm getting it, it jumps me ahead.
Exactly. If you ace the first 3 steps, it skips you ahead. If you fail one, it might offer 3 alternative explanations.
Okay, so it's managing the curriculum flow. Who's handling the hands-on technical critique?
That falls to the builder NTC. This character specializes exclusively in technical feedback for world building and 3D modeling. So if you're struggling with asset geometry, the builder NPC gives you highly targeted, immediate feedback on your structure, materials, optimization. It's like a master artisan teaching you the craft.
And then there's the overall goal setter. I'm assuming that's the game master.
Correct. The game master acts less like a teacher and more like a level designer, really. It manages the overall structure, it tracks your cumulative progress, awards milestone achievements, and, crucially, it handles the unlocking of new, more challenging areas of the world once you meet the prerequisites.
And the last one, for the quick fix, for that moment of immediate frustration.
That's the ubiquitous assistant bot. This bot is all about minimizing downtime. It delivers instant hints, clarifies syntax, offers error fixes right through your HUD messages, so you don't break your flow to go search a forum when you run into some minor bug. The goal is just to keep you building.
Okay, so the curriculum's breadth is distributed among these AI guides, but I want to dive into the mechanics of these learning zones. This is where it gets really compelling for me, because abstract theory becomes a tangible building block. Let's walk through a few of these unique environments.
We can start small with asset creation. That takes place in the 3D modeling zone. The sources describe it as a kind of specialized crafting area.
And what are the quests like in there? Is it just following recipes, or is there a real design challenge?
Oh, there is deep technical work. Quests in the modeling zone cover essential skills, things like complex shape modification, appropriate material choice.
Like understanding PBR textures and things like that.
Exactly, and achieving game-ready topology.
Hold on. For a listener who might be curious but isn't a game developer, what exactly is game-ready topology?
That's an excellent question. So, topology is just the arrangement of the surface structure of the 3D model. Game ready means it's optimized. It has to look good, sure, but it also has to be structurally efficient. It needs to run smoothly in a virtual environment without causing lag.
Mm.
So you're learning optimization theory by smoothing out polygons, not by reading a manual.
And the feedback, the rewards, they're instant.
Absolutely. XP is awarded the second you complete a build mission or share a finished model or hit those performance targets. The feedback loop is immediate and visual. You see your optimization choices reflected in the performance metrics right away.
Okay, so then we step up in scale to the World Builder sandbox. This isn't just making a single optimized object anymore. This is architectural and spatial design.
Right. This is the open construction space. You're prototyping large environments, functional cities, complex factory floors, fantasy realms, even new educational facilities. Here, players learn spatial design, user flow, principles of scale, and crucially, they're often collaborating in real time with people on the other side of the planet.
Turning something like urban planning theory into a playful co-creation session? That sounds like a major pedagogical stretch. How does the system scaffold that knowledge when the tasks are so big and multidisciplinary?
The NPCs are essential here. They provide step-by-step guidance. They frame these macro challenges in bite-sized quests. You're not reading about infrastructure requirements. You're fulfilling a quest to build a settlement that can handle a certain volume of simulated traffic. Or you're designing a ventilation system that meets simulated air quality metrics. You learn the requirements by solving the virtual problem.
That's training future civic engineers, not just game developers. That's a profound shift. But the most insightful zone for me, the one that really stood out, is the learning lab. This is where players stop being designers of objects and start becoming instructional designers themselves.
That's the meta layer of the whole curriculum. The Learning Lab is a simulation arena. Your core task is to build and implement micro lessons or even entire quest chains. And then you watch these AI-controlled NPC learner-simulated students essentially react to your lesson design in real time.
But I wonder, does relying entirely on AI-controlled NPCs for feedback on pedagogy risk eliminating the human element, mentorship and critical debate?
That's an important check for sure. But while the initial feedback is algorithmic, you get data on engagement, retention rates, error patterns. That data feeds back directly into your iterative design. It makes the invisible elements of good teaching visible. It makes them tweakable. You learn what keeps a virtual learner engaged by seeing the data and optimizing your design based on measurable results. And that can often lead to deeper insights than just anecdotal observation in a classroom. Of course, all of this active building and testing, it requires a really robust system of progression to keep players engaged and moving toward genuine mastery. Which brings us to the reward systems.
Right, and this is where the XP translates directly into real marketable skills.
Yeah.
The XP isn't just filling a progress bar, it's feeding comprehensive skill trees that unlock advanced design tools, specific export formats you need for professional work, specialized world templates.
Exactly. And milestones are celebrated with badges, for your first multiplayer build or creating a widely used community tutorial. But the real utility for the learner is the portfolio auto-generation feature.
Which means your accomplishments are instantly translated into professional credentials. Your successes aren't just celebrated in-game. They're automatically documented and turned into shareable proof of expertise. Showcase reels.
And that capability instantly translates in-game success into real-world professional assets. But I think the most important element of the whole progression structure is the absolute necessity of social co-creation. Collaboration is mandatory for deep advancement here.
So how does that social structure actually manifest? Are they just organized into, cohorts or teams?
They use guilds. These are collaborative teams that co-own persistent worlds. They pool their collective XP to unlock region-wide mods or advanced tool sets or special resources. And this mechanism ensures that teaching your peers actually grants you bonus XP, which fundamentally shifts the dynamic from competitive grade-seeking to a culture of necessary generosity.
The sources mentioned that to make all this remote teamwork seamless, they use live voice chat combined with holographic pointers. So the collaboration feels completely local no matter where you are. The classroom is truly unbound.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the most profound incentive structure kicks in at the endgame. What happens to the veteran creators, the ones who've mastered the skill trees and graduated the core program?
They don't just leave with a certification. They become the active maintenance engineers for the curriculum itself. They design entirely new learning zones, they script original quest chains, they publish advanced modules to the global catalog for new students.
And they're incentivized to do this through a system called Legacy XP. Mentorship tools track novice progress, and when a pupil succeeds or masters a zone created by a veteran, that veteran is awarded Legacy XP. It's a reward system for impactful teaching.
So what does this all mean then? The alumni don't just leave the school, they actively expand and curate XR School itself. They perpetuate an ever-growing, self-improving curriculum that benefits every single student who comes after them.
And this model, it directly addresses the retention and the disconnection issues we see in traditional schooling. It integrates three really powerful cognitive loops that conventional learning models just struggle to replicate because they rely too heavily on passive information transfer.
Okay, let's start with the first one, motivation through play. What's the cognitive mechanism there that's keeping the learner engaged?
It's the constant flow of dopamine that you get from game loops. Risk, reward, discovery. That keeps engagement high, but it also ensures the cognitive load stays manageable. And the structure completely reframes failure. Mistakes just instantly respawn the player with actionable feedback. This shifts your internal narrative from, I failed this test, to, I generated data that shows my design needs a revision.
And that reframing is absolutely essential for intrinsic motivation. Because every task visibly and immediately unlocks a new creative power, a new tool, a new capability, you're motivated to push harder because you see the utility of the struggle right away.
Which leads to principle number 2, immediate application. This addresses that classic learning disconnect.
Because the knowledge is used the exact moment it's acquired. It's not stored away for some distant future exam.
Precisely. Take a concept like UV unwrapping. You learn it, which is basically flattening a 3D surface so you can apply a 2D texture correctly, and you immediately apply it to the sword or the helmet we just modeled. Then you watch that asset function and texture and glow correctly in VR. That tight feedback loop cements the memory, and it signals relevance. It eliminates that core student question of, why do I need to learn this?
And finally, let's talk about the anxiety factor, which is a massive blocker in so many academic settings. This framework creates what the sources call a safe iteration culture.
Yes, and it lowers the stakes of experimentation dramatically. That is crucial for creativity because you have unlimited undo features, complete revision history tracking, and these private sandboxes for your messy work. You're given permission to experiment without fear of judgment.
It's about decoupling your personal identity from your output. You're allowed to make a bad version 1.0 without fear of some institutional penalty or public ridicule.
The culture celebrates versioning. It reinforces the fact that refinement is the core of professional work, not evidence that you were incompetent at the start. It institutionalizes the reality that great work requires many, many drafts. And that's a revolutionary concept when you compare it to the high-stakes, one-shot testing of traditional systems.
So to summarize the whole cyclic ethos powering this model, XR School really boils down to a four-part mantra: play, build, learn, share.
That's the engine right there. Playful exploration leads directly to building. Building necessitates learning new skills and acquiring knowledge. And learning is only truly completed by sharing that knowledge back with the community through tutorials or new quests. Each one of those iterations enriches the commons, ensuring the entire universe grows smarter and more imaginative with every single cohort that passes through.
So the ultimate synthesis here is the replacement of passive knowledge consumption with active world making. The curriculum becomes a dynamic resource, constantly in flux.
Knowledge becomes a collectible resource, earned through complex quests, and traded as professional expertise. Schools evolve into these living worlds where graduates literally leave behind new functional levels for their successors. This is generative education in its purest form.
So if the ultimate goal is for graduates to actively expand the learning environment for their successors, perpetuating this generative education indefinitely, does that mean the most effective curriculum in the future will be one that is never truly finished?